Welcome to Park Circle. Join me in Matthew 13 verses 1 through 9, and then follow me on my round as I look for opportunities from this passage to worship the Lord for His Word, for His world, and for His Redeemer. In Matthew chapter 12, Jesus has just finished making clear distinctions between those who are His disciples and those who are not, between those who follow Him and those who are resisting Him. And in Matthew 13, basket hit, throughout chapter 12, Jesus has been talking to a crowd, but a crowd that fits in a house, so it's not a huge number of people. But in 13:1, we're told that He goes out and sits by the sea. In moving from the house to this public space, it turns out that great crowds come to Him, and in order to address their needs, He gets into a boat. And the crowds stand on the beach, and Jesus preaches to them from the boat. Matthew then tells us that Jesus told them many things in parables, starting with the parable of the sower. So we see that Jesus has different means and methods of teaching based on who He's talking to. To the Pharisees, He's direct and confrontational. To His disciples, He's clear and interactive. But to the crowds of people, the mixed groups, He speaks in parables, using everyday realities to present truths about spiritual realities. The first parable we get here is the parable of the sower, sometimes called the parable of the soils, because it's the soils that are distinct as the sower casts the seed. So while my normal practice would be to read through the rest of the passage and work through it line by line, seeking to understand what it means, later in chapter 13, we're going to get Jesus's interpretation of this passage. And so I'm tempted instead to just read the passage and let it sit on us. I will say that a parable like this makes it easy to achieve my stated goal of this morning, to worship the Lord for His Word and for His world and for His Redeemer, because He's using His world to tell us something through His words about who He is and how He works among His people. So I encourage you to enjoy the sky and the trees and the flowering bushes, the flight of discs, and listen to the parable of the seeds, of the soils. He who has ears, let him hear.
That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea. And great crowds gathered about Him, so that He got into a boat and sat down. And the whole crowd stood on the beach. And He told them many things in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear.
So let's rejoice in Christ. Let's meditate on His Word. Let's give thanks to Him for the world He's made. And I hope you'll join me over the next couple of weeks as we seek to understand why Jesus is speaking in parables and what exactly this parable means.